Hi, I'm Andre, and yes, I am here to talk about the Ghostbusters trailer. This is our first chance to see how this Ghostbusters movie will be. I'm gonna give you the good, I'm gonna give you the bad, I'm gonna give you the nerdy, I'm gonna give you the Hemsworth. And this is gonna be a little bit of a different type of trailer review because I didn't watch this trailer just on the internet. They did a sneak preview screening of the Ghostbusters trailer at this special event where they had all the Ecto-1s out there. They had the old Ecto-1 and the new one. They had a bunch of Ghostbusters memorabilia. They invited a bunch of press out. They had a bunch of Ghostbuster fans and people who were part of Ghostbuster leagues across the country dressed up and everything. So I'm able to give you a little bit of extra inside information about the trailer and the movie that's not just out there on the internet. So you're getting a very special insider exclusive review right here. But don't think that whining and dining me with some Ghostbuster costumes and memorabilia gonna let me be critical about this thing. I'm gonna tell you what I like, I'm gonna tell you what I didn't like. I know this movie has caused a whole lot of controversy since its inception. And yes, I know it's gonna be hard to not try to compare this to the original movie, but there's gonna be times where I'm gonna have to because it says Ghostbusters on it. You can't avoid it. Something I thought was interesting, and they talked about this in the Q&A, the humanoid ghosts are actual people. And then in CGI, they would enhance them to look more like ghosts. So for example, that first ghost they see in the trailer that throws all the slime on Kristen Wiig, that's an actual actress, and she was wearing an LED light suit. And then in CGI, they added all the different effects to make her glow and stuff like that. Paul Feig said that he wanted to be sure whenever possible to have them act with actual people as ghosts as opposed to acting to tennis balls. It's nice to know there's gonna be some practical effects and actual people playing ghosts in this thing. Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones are going to be the stars of this movie. And what I mean by that is they are going to be the scene stealers in this movie. Every joke that I laughed at out loud was from one of them. Kate McKinnon is playing this incredibly kind of zany, crazy nuclear engineer. And Leslie Jones is a New York City subway worker who happens to stumble upon the ghost. She's bringing that everyman attitude to it, kind of like Winston did in the original movie. This is one of their first times I think we're gonna really see them in breakout roles in movies. Of course, we know them from Saturday Night Live, but they're just hilarious in this trailer, so I gave them a big thumbs up for that. And I know a lot of people are concerned about Melissa McCarthy, and I get it. You know, I thought she was great in Bridesmaids, but you could tell that some of the movies after that were people just trying to recreate that character or a variation of that character, which is why I think some people sort of get critical of her. That's the thing that happens with comedians. When they get a breakout role, every comedy movie they put them in after that always seems to be the same type of character. She's not doing the I'm falling down, I'm fat, I'm gonna be super loud. She's kind of playing a little bit of a demure character. You know, she throws a little bit of McCarthyisms. That's a weird thing to say. McCarthyisms in there, but she's a different type of character. So that's at least cool to see that you're not expecting that same old Melissa McCarthy shtick. And if you do want that same old Melissa McCarthy shtick, you should probably watch that movie, The Boss, that's coming out, because she looks like she's standard McCarthy form in that. And going to the Q&A event, they let us know that these characters are scientists. They're not just regular folks who decide to be Ghostbusters, with the exception of Leslie Jones' character. They know their stuff, they got the knowledge, they're creating their own weapons. They are going to go through the evolution of becoming Ghostbusters like the original, but just in a different way. So yes, it's obvious that there will be slime in this. We see Kristen Wiig get slimed like crazy. We also see a very classic slime-related ghost that we all know and love. Slimer makes a cameo in this. And at the Q&A, Ivan Reitman hinted that there probably be some other references to Ghostbusters past in this, but just in different ways. So definitely be on the lookout when you watch this movie for some in-jokes and references. They're also playing on the whole, there is no Dana, there is only Zuul, of possessing people with ghosts. As you can see, Melissa McCarthy gets possessed in this trailer, and then the ghost just gets smacked out of her thanks to Leslie Jones. And I love that she slapped her. It's already out, but you know Leslie Jones, the power of Patty compels you. Slap! I mean, if you don't like Melissa McCarthy, if you do have problems with her, you want to see her face get slapped, this movie works for everybody, I guess. Chris Hemsworth makes a cameo, but it's like a quick, he just opens the door and goes, "Hi, I'm Chris Hemsworth." He's supposedly the receptionist. He's playing the Annie Potts role in this movie. But what's interesting about it, and this is a little bit of a theory, they bring him up in the trailer when they're doing the dialogue about how ghosts can possess other people. So I'm wondering if it's possible that Chris Hemsworth might get possessed in this movie. Because there's already that spoiler of the Lego showing him in the suit. What if he gets possessed by a ghost and then he puts on that suit and the Ghostbusters have to take him out? That would be pretty cool. I don't know if it's gonna happen. That's just a complete theory, but it's just something that popped in my head based on seeing his shot in the trailer and hearing the dialogue underneath him. And I know there's been a lot of controversy about them being women. Some people are just going crazy about them being females. But what I thought was very interesting when watching this trailer, there is not one mention at all about them being women. There's no like, women can be Ghostbusters, we four girls are the Ghostbusters. They were just Ghostbusters. And I gotta be honest, I think that's probably the way to go. Just saying like, look, we're not even gonna address that issue. We're not gonna make a big deal about it. We're just gonna be Ghostbusters. We're gonna be people that just happens to have 4 women in it. But that's just from the trailer. You know, they could always slide that stuff in the actual movie, but from the trailer, it looks like they're not doing that. Personally, I would like to have seen a mix of people. I would like to have seen different genders, different races. Obviously, people are gonna go into this and be like, oh, cool, that's women heroes, or oh, boo, that's women heroes. The same way they did with Star Wars The Force Awakens, the same way they did with Mad Max Fury Road. But if the movie itself is not doing that, if you just get that from the subtext of it, but the movie itself is not trying to preach that moment, then that's just more on you. If you have a problem with Ghostbusters being rebooted because you like that original, that's fine. You are at every right to have that feeling, because we getting so many things rebooted, it is insane. But if the only issue you have is that they're females, then you gotta get over yourself. And from what they're telling me at this Q&A, this ain't the last Ghostbusters you're getting. I mean, this is them trying to set something up. They just built an entire section on the studio lot called Ghost Core. It's Ivan Reitman's studio, and it looks like the Ghostbusters firehouse. They have a Ghostbusters specific office now on the Sony Pictures lot. This ain't over. We are getting a lot of Ghostbusters coming soon.
The company is the company that has sort of helped produce this movie. Is going to keep creating more Ghostbusters things.
Yeah! Ivan Reitman is the producer on this thing, so you know we're getting someone from the original Ghostbusters behind it at least. And he said that his one job in this movie was to make sure that the movie never skewed so far that it was being insulting to the original property. At the same time, he also made sure it wasn't getting too close to the original. This is trying to be we're kind of like the other Ghostbusters, but new. I'm gonna give it a shot. From what I'm seeing so far, there are some things that are working. But I do have concerns. Devil's advocate. Okay, concerns. This movie looks like a reboot. Like, if you didn't even know what Ghostbusters was and you watched this trailer, you already have the vibe that this is based on something from a few years ago. I mean, even the way they start the trailer, they're like, do 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 30 years ago. Do 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 do. It looks like a reboot. And it's doing that reboot trap that kind of concerns me. The problem with a lot of reboots is they go, oh, now that it's 20, 30 years later and we got so much money and we got CGI and we got a bigger budget, we'll just go crazy. Bigger is not always better. Okay, there's parts of this movie that feel like that classic 80s Ghostbusters, feels very small scale even though it is a bigger budget movie. And then there are parts like the Times Square scene in this trailer where you can tell that is a big budget action fest. That's where you're seeing more CGI ghosts, you're seeing Sony products all over the place. That's probably part of the third act, and that's what I would worry about this movie, because I see this happening a lot with movies in general, even like our superhero movies. The first couple of acts are very contained, very like simple story. You're learning about the characters, you do get the effects, you do get the action sequences, but it's a lot of character development. And then that third act comes in and the studios are like, oh, we gotta do something crazy and insane, and it's gotta be this big action centerpiece, and you get a lot of CGI stuff thrown around, a lot of crazy action thrown around, and then all the character development, all the like subtlety of the movie is lost. And so I would hope that this movie doesn't do that, but looking at that Times Square scene, I have a feeling that it's gonna be this big, crazy, ghost-busting action fest at the end. And I would be nervous about that, because even in the first movie, the original movie, when all the ghosts got out of the containment unit, it still felt like a small scale 80s film, as opposed to them being like, all right, let's just blow the budget on this part, till of course Stay Puft walked in. The thing that I really think worked for that original Ghostbusters, even though some people knew the cast, when I watched the movie, I didn't really know that cast that well. I hadn't watched a whole lot of Saturday Night Live at that point. So when I saw these characters on the screen, they felt like characters. Egon, Ray, Winston, Peter felt like people that you would see in this absurd story and believe them. And the comedy, I feel, came from them just being the characters, so that when they would say certain things, they weren't necessarily really jokes, but it was the way they said it and the things that you knew about the characters when they said it, particularly in Egon's case. That's what made it hilarious. What I fear is happening with this movie is this is more of the usual stuff we're seeing in comedies today, where it's a bunch of actors that you like, that you know, that's just doing a bunch of jokes, a bunch of gags, a bunch of ha-ha, wink-winks, and I'm worried that that's not gonna work as well as the original Ghostbusters, where it was literally about the characters made it funny. And if you want another example of that, look at Ghostbusters 2. I think the reason why Ghostbusters 2 doesn't work for some people, I enjoy the movie, but definitely one of the flaws of it is you can tell that they were really trying to write jokes and make them sell a little bit harder. It's like now we got to put up these big specific jokes and lines as opposed to just the characters being the characters. That's what makes the original work. As you can tell, I'm already still referring to them as Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, and Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon. I haven't yet to mention them as their actual characters, because Leslie Jones is Patty, one's named Aaron, one's named Abby, there's a fourth one. So that already feels like a little bit of an issue. Like, I shouldn't be seeing these actors playing Ghostbusters. I should see Ghostbusters. It's a trailer, so obviously we see more of the movie. We may get more connected with the characters. We may hear the names more to be like, okay, these are legit characters. But I can already tell from this that that's something I'm gonna be a little bit worried about, is I want this to feel like actual Ghostbusters, not, oh, these are these actors that I like playing Ghostbusters. And it's still unclear, and even in the Q&A, it was still very unclear. Is this in the same universe? It's an origin story, no doubt. They are becoming Ghostbusters. They're not getting handed down the reins from the original Ghostbusters. They're making everything up on their own. But does that mean that the other Ghostbusters exist? Because at the beginning of the trailer, they're like, 30 years ago, this team saved New York. Now this new team answers the call. Will they at least even know about the original ones, or is this really in an alternate universe? Is this like a Ninja Turtles type of thing, where like the movie Ninja Turtles and the cartoon Ninja Turtles all exist, but they just happen to exist in parallel universes? With Ghostbusters, that kind of would make sense, but at least something. Look, you can't have Slimer, you can't have the Ecto-1, you can't have all these references to the old Ghostbusters but still be like, no, that other Ghostbusters doesn't exist. You can't have people going around going, something strange in the neighborhood, but then be like, there's no Ghostbusters from 30 years ago. There was! We all saw it! It existed! So either say it existed but it disbanded, say it existed but now you want to take it over. You don't have to actually have Dan Aykroyd come in and give you the proton pack and be like, you're a Ghostbuster now. Fine. Figure it out yourself, but you gotta at least acknowledge that the whole thing that happened before existed. We'll see what happens. We can't tell from this trailer, but we'll see what happens with the movie. I think probably more people are gonna be more negative about this trailer than I was, even though I did have my concerns, even though I said negative things. But I tell you what, man, watching the Ghostbuster fans watch this, you could just tell how happy they were. They didn't care about who was in it or what was it about and all that kind of stuff. They were just so happy to see Ghostbusters again on a big screen. And I felt for them. Love that so much that they are able to make their own costumes and proton packs and have Ghostbuster charters, which now are official Ghostbuster charters. They're actually working with all these different Ghostbuster groups to make them official, so there's no worries about cease and desist or any of that kind of stuff. That was a cool thing to see. It just shows you that there's fandom in everything, and if you just give them something that is at least somewhat what they want and shows that you at least have some kind of compassionate franchise, whether you do it right or not, there's definitely more love for this movie than for something like Jim or even Transformers. Make it for those fans and hopefully they get what they want. That's all I can ask. You know, any worries that people were having this was going to be a complete abomination, I don't feel that from this trailer. I think there are some things in this that impressed me that I did not expect from this that made me go, okay, this may not be that bad after all. And then there's still some things in it that make me go like, no, that was the kind of the stuff that I thought I was going to see in this movie. Just wondering what this new take of Ghostbusters is going to be, and definitely interested at the very least to go see it and then go from there, because it's got the Ghostbusters name on it. There's no taking it back. You can't CGI any characters out unless they're ghosts. This is happening, so let's just get through it. But just remember, guys, this does not make your other Ghostbusters disappear. If this ends up being the worst thing in the world, you still got 1984 right there for you to go. We're ready to believe you, and we're also ready to be in your Blu-ray player just in case this movie doesn't work out for you. Let me know what you think of that Ghostbusters trailer, and if you like this cast, or would you have liked to see somebody else in some of these roles instead. I love you like a play cousin. I'm Adi 5000. Chain chomp yomp.